Welcome to the 22nd Vegan Convergence of the Peoples, Thriving on Planet B. I'm honored to introduce to you our speaker, Jane Velez-Mitchell. Thank you, Jane.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, and you are really one of my heroes, able to take a lot of the very complex environmental details that Dr. Silas Rao and others have brilliantly put together and explain it as a kindergarten teacher would for us. And you've done that many times.
Thank you.
You are a teacher, so thank you for that. So everybody, where are we? In the words of Charles Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Obviously, more animals are being killed for food than ever before. It's a horror. It's a nightmare. We're starting to see the environmental consequences right in our face. I know people who lost their homes during the recent LA fires. We've had the tragic floods in Texas. But at the same time, there is this growing awareness that animal agriculture is a big part of the climate crisis. And so one of the things that I think is very positive is that there have been a number of environmental groups which used to completely ignore 100%. The environmental movement ignored animal agriculture's role in the climate crisis. In fact, a few years ago, I was at a Fire Drill Fridays where a very famous person who shall remain nameless was speaking and talking about fossil fuels. And I said, and animal agriculture. And she said, you be quiet. That's where we came from. And as a matter of fact, it was because of that pretty devastating experience. There were a couple of incidents similar to that. One, I was even basically told to leave when a very famous so-called environmentalist was doing a public event in downtown Los Angeles. They actually tried to get the police to throw me out. Okay, so we come from that. And actually, it was at that point that I hit bottom on the whole thing. And I called Dr. Rao crying. And I said, Dr. Rao, until we prove that it's the leading cause, nobody is going to pay any attention to us. And that's when he, and correct me, Dr. Rao, if I'm wrong, decided to do the white paper. And our challenge now is to get that white paper out there, get these environmentalists to start acknowledging the reality that Oxford University has documented. Oxford University did a study in 2023 that said that heavy meat eaters, which is most Americans, can reduce their greenhouse gas emissions footprint by 75% by switching to a plant-based diet. And I said, surely the media will cover that. It was in the New York Times. It was an Oxford University study. Surely the rest of the mainstream media will pick up on that, right, Dr. Rao?
Yeah.
No, nobody picked up on it. Meanwhile, what they do is what I would call catastrophe porn. That's my phrase. And, you know, my heart goes out to obviously tragic situation in the floods. I can't even imagine what being a parent of one of those children who lost their lives is like. And the people who've lost homes, my heart goes out to them. But when the news media just covers the catastrophes, and then when a solution is presented, you can reduce your greenhouse gas emissions footprint by 75% by switching to a plant-based diet, when they refuse to cover that, that is morally reprehensible. So we, in our way here at UnchainedTV, do make the effort to cover it. And well, while you're there, Dr. Rao, can you weigh in on that moment where we decided that you had to do, or you decided you had to do the white paper? Because I think that's a really seminal moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It was your request that made me write the white paper, because for me, until then, it was self-evident, because it wasn't just climate change. There are several other problems. And for every other problem, animal agriculture is the leading cause. I said, even if you don't believe it is the leading cause of climate change, you should be ending it because it's the leading cause of biodiversity loss, of ecosystems collapse, of ocean dead zones, of deforestation. I mean, it's a no-brainer, okay, in that sense. So that's why I wasn't, and everything I wrote in the white paper is straight from the IPCC's report. I just took their data and analyzed it as a systems engineer would. That's all I did in the white paper that you asked me to write. And that, and that already shows that animal agriculture is the leading cause of climate change, which now Jared Bishop has verified in many different ways. And if you add the opportunity cost to Jared Bishop's, it goes over 100% for his also, what he's saying. So it's asking climate scientists to acknowledge that their own data is telling us that it's the leading cause, which a lot of them tell me in private that they know that.
Wow. Well,
They know that, but they cannot say it in public because they lose their grants.
And they cannot say it because they'll be ostracized, just like vegans are ostracized.
Yeah, they lose their grants mainly. That's what they're scared of.
Wow. Wow.
It's the money. It's the money.
Always follow the money. Well, I'm going to try to share my screen here and talk a little bit about a couple of things, how we can fight back. Now, I just mentioned the mainstream media is not doing its job. So I want to talk about something very new that has just come up. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Yes.
We see,
Okay.
it's not full screen. We see the other slides too.
All right. But yeah, you get the idea. All
Yeah.
right. Here we are. This is called VegMedia Watch. This is a new campaign by a group of people who are just really sick and tired of the hit pieces being written in mainstream media attacking veganism. Just as a little background, in 2019, when Beyond Meat was the most successful initial public offering in years, and plant-based meat seemed to be people who had never given me the time of day were texting me, oh my God, you were so ahead of your time, blah, blah, blah. Well, the meat industry decided, oh my gosh, we better fight back. And they started creating things like Masters in Beef Advocacy, churning out tens of thousands of social media influencers talking about how you need to eat meat, blah, blah, blah. And then the mainstream media jumped on that and started writing hit pieces. And for a couple of years, we did not respond at all. And I remember it was over a year ago, a bunch of us at the AVA Summit, Animal Vegan Advocacy Summit, sort of huddled together and said, we got to do something about this. We got to do something. But nothing was done. So this year, something called VegMedia Watch has come up. Now, I urge everybody, if you have a pen and paper or write it into your notes on your phone, VegMedia Watch, because this will not work unless other people get involved in retweeting and commenting. So basically, VegMedia Watch takes the articles in a very fact-based, respectful, balanced way, not, you jerks, nothing like that, and essentially analyzes the hit piece and calls out the reporter. So you can see here in an op-ed published by the Wall Street Journal, pro-meat activists, leave her name out for the time being, calls on the federal government to minimize the inclusion of plant-based protein in the upcoming federal dietary guidelines, and basically calls out the inaccuracies of this article and basically questions whether there's meat industry money behind this and who funds the not-for-profit that pays this person, this reporter's salary. She actually responds, okay? And then she basically says, we don't publish donors because groups like yours have harassed them. We have a policy of taking no industry money, and I do not agree, blah, blah, blah. And then there's even more filings. Basically, the 990. This is just one example. I'll give you another example. And basically propose the question, why do we need VegMedia Watch? Here's the answer. The meat dairy industry spends millions on lobbying, advertising, and public relations to promote their products as natural and environmentally friendly, demonize plant-based foods as highly processed, marginalize veganism unhealthy. News media publishes anti-vegan propaganda to support their advertisers, calling out reporters and editors and discouraging basically, what this does is it calls out reporters and editors and discourages unfair and biased reporting. One of the things I want to point out is that this organization also complements fair reporting. But here's an example of a very bad headline. The BBC counsels vegan lunches do not promote sustainability. Now, they're not saying it. They're quoting somebody that in the article says vegan lunches do not promote sustainability. But by writing this extremely negative headline, given that most people do not read articles, they just read the headlines, the percentage of people who actually go forward and read an article is much less than the number of people who see a headline. This really hurts veganism. So again, VegMedia Watch said this poorly worded BBC headline will leave many readers with the impression that plant-based diets are bad for the planet, when in fact they emit far fewer greenhouse gases than animal-based diets. Given that fires, floods, and storms can be attributed to climate change, wiping out entire communities, BBC News should exercise more caution when selecting titles for their sustainability stories. Contrary to this title, which would assuredly be misconstrued, going vegan is good for the planet. This is extremely important because I can tell you, as somebody who was in the mainstream media for 37 years, you do not want to be called out publicly. Okay? The subject matter is not the issue for these reporters. This could be job insecurity. Okay? If somebody wants to use this as leverage, blah, blah, blah. Reporters, I was called out about 3 times in my entire 37 years, and I remember each and every one, and not fondly. So how does VegMedia Watch work? VegMedia Watch publishes respectful, measured social media posts that call out reporters and media outlets that publish pro-meat, anti-vegan propaganda, amplify and complement pro-vegan news coverage. This is super important. Tag reporters, editors, and their bosses so they are aware that they are being publicly called out. This approach sends a message to journalists that publishing anti-vegan propaganda and pro-vegan stories have consequences. So again, here's another example. BBC Science News. This article is dangerous. It vilifies plant-based diets based on a research study with many limitations that the writer doesn't list until the end. Also, the link to the website that published the research study is broken. These are getting into the weeds is so important. And you can see how businesslike and measured this is. The reporter again responds. Apologies for the broken link. That should be fixed right now. As for the rest, this article is 400 words long, 200 of which discuss the study's limitations and how to get correct amino acids from a vegan diet. P.S. I'm vegan. Well, see, then VegMedia Watch responds to that. Thank you for responding. Blah, blah, blah. The point that the response makes is the headline is the most important thing in any story. So if you look carefully, the headline here is even protein-rich vegan diets may fall short on key nutrients, study suggests. That is what I call a hit piece headline. Now, why is this so important? And it's important for all of you to follow VegMedia Watch on X. Okay, that's what I'm asking everybody to do. Now, a lot of vegans will say, I don't use X. Well, let's accept life on life's terms. Politicians use X and journalists use X. So I would say you don't have to devote your life to using X, but use X for this one purpose. If you don't have X already, AKA Twitter, download the app. It takes 5 seconds. Follow VegMedia Watch and check in daily, because every day there is a new, unfortunately, we don't have far to look to find these hit pieces. And let me tell you, it does send a message to the media, because it sends a message to other reporters. If I write a hit piece, I'm going to get written up in VegMedia Watch. Now, if you look down there, there's only 7 retweets and 4 comments. The problem with that is that we need more retweets. We need more comments. I have been personally commenting on every post. I urge all of you to do that. Again, it's very simple. Now, I've had people say to me, oh, I don't have time. Yet these very same people will spend 45 minutes talking to another vegan about how terrible the news coverage is. So it's really more a matter of discipline. It's a matter of, they're disciplined. They are disciplined on the other side. It's a matter of us getting disciplined and saying, I'm going to check, I'm going to get on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to check VegMedia Watch, and I'm going to retweet and comment every day. And by the way, if you wanted to start now, there's about 30, because this just got started after the AVA Summit. There's about, and they're not connected with it. It's not connected to the AVA Summit at all. I want to make that clear. But there's about 30 posts that you could go and comment on right now. We're there. It's also going to be on Instagram and on Facebook. But the truth is that X, Twitter, is what the news media uses. And it's the most efficient way to get a response and to see not only the reporter, but the reporter's editors, their bosses. As many people are tagged at the journalistic institution as possible. Again, in a measured, thoughtful way. Nobody has to fear that commenting is going to, make you seem like you're an extremist. This is journalism. When somebody writes a bad article like that, even protein-rich vegan diets may fall short on key nutrients, studies suggest, that is totally out of sync with what the actual article wrote, that's bad journalism. It needs to be called out. So, again, there's numerous examples. 7 reasons why veganism isn't good for you, dietitian explains. This needs to be called out, okay? So it was called out by VegMedia Watch. I'll read it to you. The online health and wellness publication Only My Health claims veganism isn't good for you. The anti-vegan propaganda disguises health advice is dangerous as it advises readers who only see the title and subtitle that a plant-based diet, which largely consists of fruits, veg, whole grains, and legumes, is unhealthy. If blah, blah editors are going to use clickbait to increase page views, then they should at least select titles that are fair and accurate. 7 reasons why veganism isn't good for you is neither. Everybody who's involved, as many people as possible, are tagged. This is extremely effective activism. I would like to see, when I get through with this little presentation, how many people, with a show of hands, by simply raising your hand, are willing to join the VegMedia Watch team and respond. 2 participants. Now, how many people do we have on here? We need more than 2 participants. And I assure you, I would bet my pinky that all of you have spent at least an hour complaining to other vegans about bad media coverage. So we also respond to positive stories. And here we go. New study reveals surprising health benefits of a temporary vegan diet. So this was in Men's Health. VegMedia Watch says, thank you, Men's Health, for sharing this information. Note, if a healthy plant-based diet can produce these positive results in just a few months, then just imagine the benefits over the long term. So there's an example of how it's a very fair process. So to summarize, VegMedia Watch needs you. You literally just need to write down the word VegMedia Watch, or if you have a phone and you have X, go and just follow it right now and then check it. Bottom line, if you're disillusioned by anti-vegan news coverage, take action by following at VegMedia Watch and sharing and commenting on its posts. We can turn this around, but it's going to take all of us. VegMedia Watch. Again, it's great to do it on LinkedIn and on the others. The key one, though, if you had to do one, is X, because that's what the news media, as well as the politicians, that's what the news media as well as the politicians listen to. So let's see here. I'm just going to say we got 40 people. How many people are willing to, how many people do we get? We got a slew of hands, but I don't know how many. I'd be interested to hear, thoughts about what people think about this or why they may be reluctant to do it. I've done like a little, what I would call informal survey. And I would say that the main reason is people say, I'm doing too many things already. But honestly, this is crucial. There is a war being waged against us. And if we simply do not respond at all, it's open season. I was a journalist for 37 years. I worked at the biggest news outlets. And I could tell you that no reporter likes to be called out publicly. Okay. I remember when I was a Cub reporter, I went in, I was working in Philadelphia. Okay, here's when I did something I should have done. And I was supposed to be covering these group of people watching TV because there was something happening on the TV. And they're all watching, and it's an extremely bad signal. And this was back in the rabbit ears day. I moved the antenna so that the signal cleared up. They wrote an article about me saying I staged the event, that I was supposed to be there to observe, and I shouldn't have insinuated myself by moving the rabbit ears. They were right. That was not something I should have done. I was a Cub reporter. It seemed really kind of ridiculous that nobody was doing that, so I did it. But I was right to get called out. I remember it to this day, and it was almost 40 years ago. So yes, this is very effective, but it's not going to be effective unless people do it. Ray Kowalczyk, my buddy, Ray, is your hand up? Ray. Okay. Yeah, we need everybody to do this. And I let me tell you something, it can turn around pretty quickly because the word will get out. Hey, if you write one of those nasty articles with one of those terrible headlines, you know what's going to happen. They're going to call you out on it. So very important. All right. I want to just bring everybody up to date on some of the wonderful things that are happening. I'm going to share my screen again. And as I said, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Let's celebrate some of our victories. And maybe I'll put this full screen. Here we go. Welcome to the Truth Files with me, your host, Jane Velez-Mitchell. We have 5 very exciting wins to tell you about this week. Absolutely huge victories for animals and animal rights. Let's start with the big one. The U.S. Supreme Court declines to review California's landmark Proposition 12 animal cruelty law. This is massive. Remember, California is the 4th largest economy in the world. And there it is. Petition denied. The Iowa Pork Producers Association wanted the Supreme Court to basically violate the will of the people of California who voted that animals should have a right to turn around, that pigs shouldn't be kept in crates the size of their bodies. This is a massive victory. We have an expert here to talk about it. Another major piece of breaking news: the Swiss government is now mandating the disclosure on food labels of animal abuse. So these Swiss food labels must declare animal suffering starting now. This is absolutely a major breakthrough, and we would certainly love to have other countries in Europe following this. Now, here's another massive victory. No whales will be killed in Iceland in 2025. This is from Captain Paul Watson. And we have another incredible piece of news. Harvey Epstein has won the New York City Council Democratic primary, defeating Anthony Weiner's comeback bid. Now, when you win the Democratic primary in New York City, that's tantamount to winning the general election. So now we have a vegan animal rights activist who has won. We have finally a very fun, upbeat story to tell you about. And that is, well, Variety has a big contest, Variety magazine. It's America's favorite couple. And Jeff Goldblum is going to be involved. And guess who is number 1? In her group, currently number 1, Renee King-Sonnen and her husband, Tommy. This is absolutely incredible. We're going to tell you how to vote so that you can help her win. We've got an incredible panel of experts. We're going to start with the one and only Chris Green, who is the executive director of the Animal Legal Defense Fund. Chris tells us all about how they basically defeated the attempts by the pork industry to overturn Prop 12. The bad news is that the House Agriculture Committee this week held a hearing and basically is trying to once again do an end run around Prop 12 and in a legislative fashion overturn Prop 12. So it's extremely important that we all stay on top of that because California is the fourth largest economy in the world now, the fourth largest economy in the world. So what happens in California determines basically like national and global trade. So it's banning any product that is made by, includes pigs who were kept in gestation crates. So basically that means those crates have to go. And that's why they are so, and the law's in effect already. So that's why they're so determined to overturn it. And we are equally determined to stop them from overturning it. So I just want to say that we need to celebrate our victories, though. I think that there's a sense that, veganism, as we see from the hit pieces, is under attack. But that's, as a number of people have said, including Will Potter, who I interviewed this week, the author of the incredible new book, Little Red Barns, which is an expose on concentrated animal feeding operations. He spent 10 years writing this book. I urge everybody, buy Little Red Barns. But he said the reason we're under attack is because we are an existential threat to the meat and dairy industry, and they realize that we're coming. So we have to keep coming. I want to also celebrate a few other victories. Give me a second, because I'm getting these other videos out there, and then I'm going to share my screen again. Mercy for Animals is doing some really, really incredible work, and I want to give props to Leah Garces, who just came out with this new book called Transformation. Again, it's another book I urge everybody to get. And it basically is, she's created this template for animal agriculture industry to transition to plant-based. So let's hear a little bit of what's going on there. Extraordinary guests for you today. The amazing Leah Garces, president of Mercy for Animals, and she is the author of this blockbuster, game-changing new book, Transformation, the movement to free us from factory farming. It's truly a game changer. Without further ado, let's go straight out to Leah Garces herself. Leah, just tell us, in essence, why you wrote this book. What is your bottom line message?
Yeah, I wrote this book because I wanted to tell stories about people and animals closest to factory farming and how they were finding a way out, to give us all hope that if they can find a way out, we can all find a way out of factory farming.
Well, it's so extraordinary because I think it's the thing that our society needs more than anything else right now. And it's not just a book, it's a movement. And Mercy for Animals has taken a lot of action. You've actually sent us some video of what you've been up to. So let us show that video and then we will discuss it on the other side.
1, 2, 3. We are here for a ribbon cutting ceremony of our very first transformation hub here in North Carolina. It demonstrates everything we're moving away from and everything we're moving toward, which is a life after factory farming. It is so significant we're doing this in North Carolina. North Carolina has some of the highest concentration of both pig and chicken factory farms, and it's growing. So we are right in the heart of it, showing that we are resisting factory farming and building a new, better way.
My family is very, very excited because they used to work with me in the poultry house back then, and right now I transitioned from poultry into a greenhouse. They're very excited and very happy for me on what I can do.
Oh, wow. One of the big takeaways that I got watching this is that the chicken farmers, basically, they're victims too. And that is really important to point out, is like principles above personalities. I mean, what Leah's pointed out is that these people are kind of sucked into this industry and they're put in enormous debt, and they can make more money doing plant-based and maintain lower debt than they did with the poultry farming, which essentially leaves them as indentured servants. They have to take on huge debt. They're kind of stuck in there trying to pay off the debt. They make very little per chicken, and a lot of them want out. So while you might say, well, that's one farm, but it is a template for other farms. And I think that this is very powerful. And what they're trying to do is get ambassadors. So they're trying to get ambassadors all over in states across the country, showing other farmers how to do this. And certainly I wish them the best. This is super, super important. And getting back to the environmentalists now, I am seeing a lot of like breaking through, not necessarily universal acceptance or admittance of animal agriculture's role in factory farming, but things are happening. We're breaking through. So let's look a little bit at that for a second. And I want to make sure I've got bear with me for 1 second. I want to share my screen. Okay, we're going to pull that up and share the screen. And thank you for your patience. And we're going to click that and share. Okay. Here we go. We got a new open, by the way, on Unchained TV. So I hope you like it. This is Unchained TV. Food policy. Oh, that sounds wonky, but it just might be what's needed to save our planet. The Plant-Based Treaty and the City of West Hollywood co-hosted this fascinating food day event as part of LA Climate Week. Along with a delicious plant-based spread, speakers laid out why going plant-based is absolutely crucial.
Animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of climate change and water and air pollution, but it is the single leading cause of deforestation, species extinction, biodiversity loss, ocean acidification, ocean dead zones, soil erosion. I mean, there are so many things that this industry contributes to. And I think that's a really great way to start relating to other people. Everyone cares about something, and we can tap into their passions to drive them to action.
West Hollywood has now made history. All of their official city events are now plant-based by default. West Hollywood Mayor Chelsea Byers revealed that all she needed was a little push from advocacy groups.
What it took for me was just hearing that this idea was out there. When Mercy for Animals started knocking on my inbox and asking me, as somebody who was situated as, you know, in my bio, it said I cared about climate change. Our city was a city in our climate action plan that addressed factory farming and mass agriculture as a problem with climate change. So there was sort of all of this in a matrix that would line up and be like, yeah, that makes sense to go target them. But now what else makes sense? City of Santa Monica has been a long time a leader in sustainability. How else can they start thinking about this, right? What other cities host a lot of events and do a lot of food, right? Just sort of thinking about those things. And I think that's what it takes. It's your creativity, reaching out and crossing that bridge and really shaking the doors of government, because I promise it was a few emails it took, but help us get the job done, right?
I really appreciate that, Mayor, to encourage everyone to take action. And we encourage all of you to take action.
Plant-Based Treaty's Samantha Lau moderated this groundbreaking food policy discussion where government policy makers cemented the importance of moving away from animal agriculture.
Julie from Better Food Foundation, can you tell us exactly what Mayor Byers was talking about when she talked about defaults?
Default as a key component to all of this policy that's being passed. So what is a default? When you go to an office, you go to a large event, you go to your cafeteria at your corporation, the food being served is default, but you can still opt in for meat or dairy. It drastically reduces meat and dairy intake. Example today, did you guys, thank you.
Thank you, Plant-Based Treaty and West Hollywood, for hosting us. We really fundamentally need to re-examine the way we grow food, the way we consume food, the way we purchase food. So, globally, a third of our emissions comes from our food systems. And, animal-based diets are more carbon intensive, require more land, water, and really result in poorer health outcomes. And we got some of the most delicious plant-based foods here today, and we all realize that it tastes delicious.
In a dramatic development, this official revealed that Los Angeles County,
the most populous county in the United States, with nearly 10 million residents, is taking serious strides to incorporate plant-based meals into its government functions.
It's massive. There are 10 different departments within the county operating 26 food venues and programs and over 110 different food contracts. I mean, it's massive. So the supervisor, recognizing that the county could be a leader in this area and make significant environmental impacts, back in 2024, she introduced a motion along with Supervisor Solis to review the county's food procurement policies. And this was really written and worked on in alongside Mercy for Animals, who's here today. So thank you for all your work on that. And that motion really looks to identify ways to increase plant-based foods and was our strategy for reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
This is huge, as LA County is home to more people than 40 U.S. states combined.
We need to look at our food system.
One strategy to get cities to offer more plant-based foods? Just partner with the local vegan restaurants and let them provide healthy and sustainable food at official city events.
You're drumming up business for them and also really championing the work that is already happening in the community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, and actually, plant-based foodies are working on a lot of campaigns that work with businesses. 100 Cafes campaign, and we want to build a strong economy for the plant-based community, and that's why Plant-Based Foodie does have a lot of campaigns like that.
Plant-Based Treaty's Ellen Dent honed in on why it's so absolutely important for city governments to go plant-based now.
So over 83% of the agricultural land that is used towards animal agriculture, and that only produces about 37% of protein and only 18% of global calories. So our current food system as it is not sustainable, and we cannot continue to consume this way and expect that we are going to have a good future on this planet. What we need is for our food system to turn into a carbon sink. So instead of emitting carbon, it needs to actually absorb the carbon, and we can do that through plant-based transitions.
In an Oxford University study reported in the New York Times, heavy meat eaters, which describes many, if not most, Americans, can reduce their greenhouse gas emissions footprint by a whopping 75% by switching to a plant-based diet.
There was so much talking today, panel discussions, questions, speeches, but the bottom line is that there is a way 3 times a day that you can combat climate change. It's right on your plate, and it's delicious.
I'm Jane Velez-Mitchell for UnchainedTV.
So there you go. I wanted you to see the whole thing because there's a lot of information in there. And the information that I thought was just, first of all, West Hollywood is always a leader. I mean, when it comes to the fur ban, when it comes to puppy mills, banning dogs from being sold from puppy mills in stores. I mean, they have always led the way. And now they're leading the way on plant-based by default. But what was really extraordinary, and I was there, we were a sponsor, and Plant-Based Treaty, incredible work. Way to go, Plant-Based Treaty and Mercy for Animals and all the other groups that came together for this West Hollywood Food Day, which was, really, I think, significant, is that LA County, you heard it there yourself. I mean, that's huge. And as I was listening to her speak, the woman from the LA County Supervisor's Office, I was like, wow, this is big. So what we need, of course, is to take that template. Again, these are templates that are being established, just like you have the transformation template. Now you have the plant-based by default template. And then you have the procurement, plant-based procurement template that LA County is instituting. And we have to spread these across the United States and the world. But I think it's really important because so many people are beating their chests about vegan restaurants are closing. Well, guess what? New vegan restaurants are opening as well. And restaurants across the board are closing because of changing in cultural behavior patterns as a result of the pandemic. A lot of people aren't going to the restaurants the way they used to, and for other reasons. So I think that it's very important that we remain hopeful and optimistic. There's a lot of positive things happening. And, we've got just about 15 minutes. I would love to dialogue with the people who are on this Zoom about what you guys think and what you humans think about all of this. And we can go back to VegMedia Watch as well, because I don't want people to forget that. That is super, super, super important. I'm commenting every day. I'm a very busy person, but the last thing I'll say is there are ways to be super effective. Just today, I stopped everything I was doing and I followed some prompts that Mercy for Animals gave regarding reaching out to one of the largest food distribution corporations in America that is talking about going sustainable but has no plant-based policy. And they gave 3 action points. Write an email. That was very easy. It was one click. Then go on social media and comment. I went on LinkedIn. I wrote a comment. I included a link to the New York Times article about reducing your greenhouse gas emissions footprint by 75% by going plant-based. And then I copied that and put it in 5 different comments on LinkedIn for that company. I do the same thing with PETA. Anytime I get an instruction from PETA, I stop what I'm doing because I know I can get to the end point very quickly. Hit Y to send a message. These are very efficient systems, but we have to use them. And again, VegMedia Watch is a very powerful, take my word for it. I was in the media for 37 years. It's a very powerful thing if we all do it. Back to you, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Jane. Definitely I'm going to do VegMedia Watch, and I bet a number of people here will, and I think it's fantastic. Thank you for that wonderful presentation, and we have time for questions. And I see Page Persons Roach is here to ask a question, and so we'll bring her up in a moment.
Okay. Hi. Hey there. Hey, Jane. Okay. Wow. So inspiring. What I love is that there's lots of ways that we can take action. And you said to me years ago, I was super depressed about something. I called you. I'm like, Jane, I don't even know. How do you deal with this? And you said, well, get sad for a moment, and then you get busy for the rest. You get in action. I'm like, that is such a good way to move through all this navigating the minutia. My question, okay, a couple things. I just want, because I am on the campaign for plant-based treat, I want everyone to know it's a global campaign, and anyone's welcome to a welcome call on a Friday morning. So I did want to make a mention of that. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me about the welcome call, and you can find out more how you can get involved in your country, city, village, wherever. Okay, so I just want to say that. And also you can take actions online, literally from the comfort of your home. You can send emails. So there's that. Jane, here's my question. Where do you see this, the media, your take on the media moving with all this messaging? In other words, do you feel like they're going to even pump in more money into, discrediting us? Or do you feel like there might be an actual shift, given that we are barreling towards, 2026? Where, as Dr. Rao has pointed out, there are so many markers of collapse coming our way. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a good question. I always think of the swing of the pendulum, and that's what we see culturally all the time. We're seeing it right now in politics. Something swings one way, and then it swings back the other way. And quite often it goes too far in either direction, and then it pulls back and it swings. This is what we go through. And so we've gone through this period of hate and demonization of the word vegan. And that's why VegMedia Watch is so important to counteract that. And I think we're going to see a swing in the other direction because the word is getting out. In other words, just as these climate organizations are starting to see, these environmental groups, that we can't totally ignore this meat and dairy thing. We're going to be irrelevant if we do. I want to point out that in California Enviro Voters, which holds the very important Badass Vegan Awards, a lot of politicians show up there. I was there for the last 2 years in a row. It's plant-based now. Why? Because of people who joined the organization and then pushed for plant-based internally. And it's kind of funny. I'll tell you, I went to the last Badass Green Awards here in Culver City, nearby, just, I don't know, about a month ago. And I was seeing the various vegans that I knew, and each one kind of took credit for turning the Badass Vegan Awards vegan. Oh, I talked to them and I blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, great. Then I talked to the next one. Yeah, well, guess what? What that means is it was a group effort. There were half a dozen vegans who were part of the Badass Green Awards and California Enviro Voters, and they made their voices heard. Good. Join these organizations. I'm a member of the Sierra Club. There's going to be a picnic. And anybody asked, do you want to volunteer? I said, I'll volunteer and I will provide a table with vegan food. And now we have the amazing Jonathan Ohayon of Le Crêpe de Jardin and his bride providing incredibly gorgeous, delicious crepes at that event. And Unchained TV is sponsoring that booth. And, you know, what's that cliche? That's how change happens. So everybody can do this. You can join the Sierra Club. You can join California Enviro Voters and the Natural Resources Defense Council and all these places, because we have to get our foot in the door. And then to California Enviro Voters' credit, they listened and they changed. Also, I want to give credit to Chris Tucker, because at the end of the day, it's the taste of the food. And he was super instrumental in overseeing, for example, with Hollywood Climate Summit. That's another video I could play for you. Hollywood Climate Summit has gone vegan for a couple of years in a row. And Chris Tucker assembled a team. I want to almost show that video, but next time. But of incredible vegan chefs that put out food that was so delicious that people were like fighting each other to get to the table. So they say if you build it, they will come. If you go in there and make your voices heard, they can change, and they will change.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Paige. Yes, Dr. Rao, and then Dakota.
Yeah, my question in VegMedia Watch, I went and started liking all their posts on X. And there's one post where they talk about animal agriculture is responsible for 14 to 18% of greenhouse gas emissions on an annual basis. And I was wondering, can I help them understand where those numbers come from? Because they're repeating industry numbers.
Absolutely. This is all about contributing thoughts and ideas to this. And that's why commenting is so important. And, you know, for folks who are just joining, maybe I will just very quickly go back to the VegMedia Watch so people know what we're talking about. I don't want to leave anybody in the dark here. And I will just share that screen for a second. So we're back, you know, letting everybody know it's a new organization, nonprofit, not official, even nonprofit yet. It's a collection of vegans who are tired of the hit pieces and the hate and just created VegMedia Watch. I'm part of the coalition, but it's not me. And in a respectful, business-like manner, calling out reporters who write hit pieces. Here's Meat Will Make America Healthy Again. It was a tweet that called out the reporter. The reporter responded. There was a back and forth. That's success. When the reporter responds, let me tell you, that's success. And when you have the reporters and their editors seeing this, it sends a message. It sends a message to them, and it sends a message to other reporters. And as I mentioned before, having been a reporter for 37 years, no reporter wants to be publicly called out for bad journalism, irrespective of the topic. So we're urging everybody to go follow VegMedia Watch. It's on various socials, but the most important, because that's what the politicians and the media goes to, is X. Just go to VegMedia Watch, check it daily. There's usually a new article, a new response to an article. Unfortunately, there's plenty to choose from every day. And comment, retweet and comment. And Dr. Rao, it would be great if you said, actually, it's worse than that. And then explained, obviously, there's a limitation of the number of characters you can use, but you could comment twice, or you could provide a link to your white paper. So this is all a work in progress, and nobody has the perfect answer to everything. But the most important thing is that there's retweets. Imagine if there were 40 or 400 retweets instead of 4, right? Imagine the impact that would start having. And we need to speak up. This is not done in a nasty way. It's not like, you jerks, no. This is almost corporate in its calling out, which gives it more credibility. And I think it's really going to help. So there you go. I urge all of you not just to say you're going to do it, but follow through and do it.
Very good.
I'm happy to do it, but I'm happy to also explain to them, whoever it is who's running that, explain to them these different numbers, because there are so many numbers floating around now.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little meeting.
Yeah.
I hear you. And, yes, I'm very excited that you're going to be commenting, Dr. Rao, because that gives us credibility too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Right. And you know what? The rest of us can get on and post Dr. Rao's paper and Gerard Bishop's paper. So if a lot of us are posting saying, hey, you need to look at this, that will help get them interested in.
Right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Reporters. We're not saying anybody's evil. People are, we're pack animals, and reporters are particularly pack animals, and they see somebody doing it. I mean, I've done it. I see, these articles, 7 reasons why, and suddenly I'm writing an article, 7 reasons why. We're pack animals. We follow and we imitate. So it's super important. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
There is a place where all life thrives, where every creature is respected, compassionately saving lives, and no one is rejected. Our world of peace and harmony, we call this planet. There is a place where all life thrives. This place we know is upside down, a chaos of extremes. In unity we turn it around and live the life of dreams. A world of peace and harmony, we call this planet B. We know is upside down, a chaos of extremes. In unity we turn it around and live the life of dreams. Oh, a world of peace and harmony, we call this planet B. This place we know is upside down, a chaos of extremes. In unity we turn it around and live the life of dreams. A world of peace and harmony, we call this planet B. We call this planet B. Call this planet B. There is a place where all life thrives, where every creature is respected, compassionately saving lives, and no one is rejected. Our world of peace and harmony, we call this planet B. This place we know is upside down, a chaos of extremes. In unity we turn it around and live the life of dreams. A world of peace and harmony, we call this planet B. This upside down. A chaos of extremes. In unity we turn it around and live the life of dreams. Oh, a world of peace and harmony. We call this planet B. This place we know is upside down. A chaos of extremes. In unity we turn it around and live the life of dreams. A world of peace and harmony. We call this planet B. We call this planet B.
Honey, I'm on.
Call this planet B. There is a place where all life thrives, where every creature is respected, compassionately saving lives, and no one is rejected. Our world of peace and harmony, we call this planet B. This place we know is upside down. A chaos of extremes. In unity we turn it around and live the life of dreams. A world of peace and harmony. We call this planet B. This place we know is upside down.